Welcome back to my series analyzing RWBY fights. This time, my patrons voted for Salem versus everyone in the Whale, a bombastic, crazy way to punctuate the midpoint of Volume 8. Quite honestly, it was a better climax than the actual Volume 8 finale, which had problems. The whole episode leading up to this fight is a roller coaster too. The kids show up in the Whale somehow, revelations are made, people swap sides, Salem does what I refer to as her find them run.
Find them!
She's been drifting around at a snail's pace. A painful crawl, and you're telling me this whole time she could have been supersonic speeding all over the place?
You're too slow!
If I was Emerald, I'd be pissed. But anyway, it all culminates to this fight. We set the stage by having the kids running through what I can only imagine is the anus of the whale. But uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, here comes Salem.
Party don't start till I walk in.
At a glance, you might think her dark magic blast knocked the kids over, but it actually looks like they're too far away for the impact to have even reached them. I think they all just kind of fell over because the ground was shaking a lot. Salem, noticing Oscar, realizes Emerald is betraying her, and Salem goes into stretchy arms and extendo fingers mode. Ren fires a short barrage to help out Emerald and just completely misses. Like, not even close, dude. Salem then, rather than just turning towards the kids in the direction her head was already facing, instead decides to do a full 360 spin to attack them with her left hand. I'm actually going to assume this was a slight show of force. She can drag Emerald's whole body around like she weighs nothing, and she wants the others to all know that. Salem fires a rainbow blast at the kids. So Jean and Yang seem to be looking at the direction of the blast. Jean even runs up to shield Ren from the hit, but Ren is looking in the wrong direction, it looks like. Ren seems to be looking off towards the right a little bit. His right, not ours. What are you looking at, homie? You just fired at Salem too. She's the only target. Why are you looking that way? The bros go flying, and on impact we actually see that Jean's aura breaks? But why though? Surely Ren would be the one whose aura broke here, right? Ren's aura was already pretty weak from using his semblance so much to disguise them throughout the Whale. Also, what's the point of the giant shield? We pan over, and apparently while the boys were getting bodied, Yang did a 300-foot vertical and is now airborne. Yang comes flying in and does a quick barrage on only Salem's tits. I personally would have picked her face for one of these hits, but you do you, Yang. She does a bonkers squat as she lands, fires around to shoot herself over like a foot, and then fires to zip past Salem. And at this point, I think Salem just kind of let her get around her. You landed like 5 feet away. Did you not see how stretchy her arms are? I wish Yang's sticky bombs glowed more brightly. Against all of the blacks and reds of Salem's design and the Whale, I did not see these things at all. Go with a brighter color. I don't know, yellow? Maybe. That might be a good match for Yang or something. So Yang has to do this arm thrust maneuver thing to activate the bombs, and that's silly, and slows down her momentum too much. Honestly, they should just be time activated. Also, she should have activated the bombs while still in motion. Why stop entirely just to hit the blow up button? You could have been continuing to move out of Salem's range more while activating the bombs. What, did you just really want to see your own explosions go off? Another thing with this dark background, I can't see how bad the damage is on Salem. Especially not from this super far away shot. Like, I get that the design for the Grim and Salem are meant to look very similar, the reds and blacks with the white details, but when you're designing shots like this, you still want your characters to be seen from the background. Maybe if the walls of the Whale was more red and glowed soft pink periodically? We see Salem has white bones inside of her, maybe make her blown out body more noticeably white compared to the background. Or at least film the shot in a way that makes it a lot easier to see what's happened here. I don't know, but it's things you should be thinking about when designing a visual medium. Oh no, she got you? It's almost like you shouldn't have stopped moving entirely, only 5 feet away from her, Yang. Yang, fire a bullet, catch on fire. You should be able to easily break out of this tiny slime hold you're in. Emerald too. She's literally just been a ragdoll this whole time. You're not even gonna try to free yourself? Pull out one of your bladed weapons and slice Salem's arm off or something? I know the point of this encounter is to highlight how powerful Salem is, and she should feel powerful. This is literally the first and last time we'll ever see Salem participate in a fight herself. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like Salem is powerful. Instead, this is a RWBY classic where the other combatants just stop trying. Characters stop fighting back. Simple, easy problems the characters should be more than capable of getting out of or blocking are suddenly just too much for them to handle. Things like this is why I think discussing power scaling in RWBY is stupid, because it's all pointless. It's just to serve the sake of the narrative in the easiest, fastest way to animate possible, because they never have the time or budget to really do big encounters like this properly. Do it in a way where we can highlight everyone's cool abilities, but also really show just how powerful Salem is in front of them. Oscar blats her with green magic, and Emerald and Yang just sit there, doing nothing still. Yeah, just cover up your eyes and look away. Don't try to hit Salem while she's taken aback in this moment, just sit there and do nothing. Watch how Yang's neck breaks here. That's bananas looking. So Oscar just uses his hands to cast that spell, right? It's hard to tell with this garbage angle, but he's clearly not holding his cane here. He hasn't gotten it back yet from Hazel. Can Oscar just cast magic now? When did he learn to do that? Off screen? Just like everything else that would be interesting to see in RWBY, it always stays off screen. Oscar's reaction time is at a -50. He did absolutely nothing. Salem had all this wind up, she threw a whole woman, one of the tallest girls in the main cast, at him, and he sat there and did absolutely nothing. He just let that Yang booty crash into him, barely even moved his eyes. Oh, by the way, Jean and Ren are still lying around. Good contribution, guys. Look at these nerds kneeling like they were about to do something. Don't kid yourselves. You had no intention of helping. You had plenty of time to dive back into the fight and you didn't. So here's the big break in this action sequence. I kind of like the idea that Salem can literally just stop the fight before it even really gets to begin. Like I said, we're supposed to see just how crazy powerful she is. She's our main antagonist, an immortal witch from beyond time. She should feel stronger than anything else they've ever fought before. And moments like this, where she can just end the fight in seconds, is a great way to establish that idea. She starts asking them about the lamp, and then turns her attention to Oscar.
Look how you've diminished.
Hey, we stan a short king around here. Don't make fun of Oscar like that. She does this thing that I absolutely hate, because it feels so silly to me. She slides in, looking away like she's trying to be nonchalant. Like you were talking to him already. Don't act coy now, just so you can grab his head like this. I think it's supposed to be threatening, but it just feels silly with how it's executed.
Every person I've lost is because of you.
I do think Yang's angle here is actually really interesting. She's implying all of the Grimm are because of Salem, and she's technically not wrong. I think it feels a little hollow though, because, like, how many people did Yang actually lose? One? Summer? I guess we could say Pyrrha too, Penny the first time at this point in time of the story, but Yang didn't really care about any of those people. I'm just saying. It's a cool sentiment. I wish we got to see how this fueled her a lot more throughout the series, but her notion of every person I've lost feels a little flimsy once you really think about it.
Summer Rose.
Her again.
Summer is just so special. Good thing we went 10 years into the show, not giving her any definition or attention the entire time. Keep dangling the idea of Summer Rose all the way to the end, right, Rooster Teeth? Hazel shows up, no more Gretchens, clocks the witch in the side of the head, fights back on. Salem uses a mini tornado effect to catch herself, and it makes her fly, and it is a super cool reference to her inspiration being the Wicked Witch of the West. So does Salem just choose to let the kids go? Their binding hands released after Salem has already caught herself from her hit. I think it would have flowed better if the hands released as she was still flying through the air. Like, a surprise attack has interrupted her concentration on her spell. Like D&D rules, you know?
It's just beneath the skin. I must confess that I feel like a a monster.
Hazel's semblance before was dumb, stupid, goofy, lame. This? Seeing all of this all over his body, the veins colored up brightly up and down his chest, the slight glow in his eyes, this is actually cool. This scene alone made me do a 180 on Hazel's fighting style. I thought it was the dumbest ever, and this fight totally saved it. Too bad this is going to be his swan song, though. God, I know I keep harping on the background being so dark, but look at this shit. I can barely see Emerald, let alone Hazel. Why have this shot? To show how far away Salem is from them? I know how far she is. I watched her fly through the air to get here less than a minute ago. Why not have a shot where we're close up on Emerald's face, nodding in agreement with Hazel telling her to go? Then have the camera zoom out past them to get to Salem, showing us that Salem has her eyes on them. And don't just have Salem stand there, have sparks of magic flying from her hands. Make it feel like she's charging up for a big hit. Shots like this are a waste of time. It's too dark and too far away to see anything, and the one character we can see isn't doing anything worth looking at either. Every shot in visual storytelling matters.
Round 2. Fight.
Salem conjures up a dark blast, and I will say, the effect of how the magical beams look in the show is actually super cool. They really do feel ethereal and otherworldly in a way. Here's another angle where everyone is too small to see properly. There's actually a lot of shots like this in this fight, and I think this happens a lot because a lot of Ruby's locations are really big and empty for some reason. Hazel runs to avoid her blasts, and nitpick, while I like the overcharged effect on Hazel, and I think this is the best he's looked while fighting, the fire and lightning layered over his face is a bit of a shame. Let me see the faces of the characters. It also makes it kinda hard to see what he's actually doing. In true Ruby fashion, the particle effects layered lazily on top of their actual animation only ever serves to obscure all of the effort they put into it. So it kinda looks like she dodged towards the fireballs. Like, they all miss, but if she hadn't have flown closer to the camera, she still wouldn't have gotten hit, and it makes me think they might have actually have been improperly layered, and these fireballs should have been layered behind her model, so it did look like she was actually dodging them. It's not on screen long enough for you to really see this, but still, little things like that are important. So Hazel dodges another attack and pulls out 3 more dust crystals from up his ass, apparently. The glow effect on his hands is so intense, I can hardly even see what he's doing, let alone how many dust crystals he's grabbed. This is one of the worst shots in the whole show. It's terrible. They're too far away to even tell what the hell is happening, including their attacks. Even though they both have big, glowy elements to their fighting styles moments ago, suddenly it's all dark and muddy. It's terrible. It's just terrible. And these kind of shots plague this fight. So many of them are just too far away and too dark to see. Salem takes the hit and Hazel just demolishes her abdomen. Honestly, this gruesome barrage by Hazel is the thing that really hammers home how invincible Salem really is. If this was a normal human, it would be a brutal, terrible way to die, but Salem just walks it off like it's nothing. That is some scary power. Yeah, for a brief moment, you can see how her face got caved in. Ew, gross. Oh hey, look over there. That's the hole in the wall Salem made. That's where everyone else should be. That reminds me, they're finally getting away from the fight. It took them a whole minute to get off their butts and start running, and I know a minute doesn't feel like very long, but what the hell were they doing in that time? Standing around doing nothing while Hazel fights the enemy for them? I love how gross and creepy it looks when Salem reforms her body. To harp on the background again, I cannot see that grim arm. She started whipping him back and forth, and I was confused. It's so impossible to tell that there is a grim hand holding onto his ankle here. You put all this time and effort into animating this sequence. Why ruin all that hard work by putting it on top of a background that makes it impossible to see? Every single other shot inside of this stupid whale has been bright red. Why, suddenly now, during this fight, is it nearly black? You have to actually think about your color palettes. Isn't that the point of making concept art? To figure out what colors would work together in this setting to help make your characters and actions pop more? Or do you just think you make concept art to put it into an art book that's going to be exclusively sold in Japan? Unique choice to have her just bash his head into the ground. She's not just magical, she can get her hands dirty if she needs to. So she supersonics towards Oscar, and somehow, even though she can move that quickly, and Hazel was just getting his head domed in 30 feet away, he's able to catch her before she actually reaches Oscar. Hidden fire dust in the mouth is sick as hell. You know what's really, really cool? Characters standing completely still to charge up their attacks. It's always super great, and hasn't been a common complaint since the days of, like, Dragon Ball or anything. No. Just stand perfectly still and wait for your charge meter to fill up. This is what's the most entertaining thing to watch as an audience member. Oh, and you know what's also incredibly cool? Characters pulling gigantic whale-destroying super attacks out of literally nowhere. No, we haven't mentioned this power ever before this moment, and conveniently, no, we can't do this ever again afterwards.
Kinetic energy that he spent lifetime after lifetime accumulating in the cane he built. Not all, but most. We have to be careful with how we use the rest.
So the solution to this problem, literally, came out of nowhere, with no setup, because they needed a way to write themselves out of a plot hole they've written themselves into. People like watching shows about certain characters because we like watching the characters using their arsenal of skills to solve difficult conflicts. Having a character just pull a whole new attack out of nowhere with no prior establishment and is told they can't do it again later, that's just a cop-out. I would have loved to see Yang come up with a cool solution to get them out of this scenario, utilizing the abilities she has, but no. The characters just ran off screen, and the underdeveloped walking plot MacGuffin just saved the day because, I don't know, the writers didn't know what else to do. Why write characters into interesting scenes and scenarios if they're not going to use their skills to solve the problems they face? It's literally a basic, fundamental part of storytelling. No wonder your fucking company got shut down. So that's the whale fight. A landmark moment, actually. This is the only time we've ever actually gotten to see Salem engaging in battle in this current day and age. And I'll admit, it's a great taste of what she's capable of. Able to conjure magical blasts in mere seconds, controlling the winds, and tanking hit after hit, no matter how hard. Salem really is the big spectacle of this fight, and that's awesome. That's what I wanted her to be. Unfortunately, I feel like it would have been even more awesome if any of her combatants put any effort into this fight. Hazel does a great job with his part. His souped up semblance with all of the different bombastic dust types is cool, and his incredible strength better highlighted just how durable Salem is. But all of our actual heroes sucked. Ren and John got knocked out of the fight before it even started and never joined back in, and Emerald doesn't even attempt an attack once. Maybe the others would have trusted you more if you actually tried to stand up to Salem ever at all. Yang does some really quick moves against her, but her biggest contribution is just yelling about her mommy, and Oscar only shows up to pull a Deus Ex Machina out of his ass. It's lame. These fighters all can do a lot better than this. I knew going into this fight Salem was going to be crazy and powerful, but she would feel even more powerful if the other characters actually put up an interesting fight against her, especially compared to the other action sequences we got with these characters in the rest of Volume 8 and Volume 7. They've been doing cool things. Seeing a really big, cool wombo combo maneuver would have been awesome. It would have been a cool way to show that the team is finally getting along. After all of the arguing between Ren and Yang, they finally finally reconciled during their adventure in this whale. Having a big team attack would have been a really cool way to finally show just how much they've finally reconciled, how much they're on the same wavelength as each other. And would have also been a really cool way to show how powerful Salem is, having it just bounce off of her. There was just so much, and for being the big introduction to Salem, it just feels like any other fight, you know? So despite being a landmark moment, the fight in general is kind of bland. Everything's too dark or too far away to really get to see. The combatants give up too easily and don't use any of their skills to actually escape the threat on their own accord. But I'd love to hear what you think of this fight in the comments below. Like I said in the beginning, this was a more interesting finale than the real finale. So what did you think? How do you think they could have jazzed up this fight? And if you don't think it could have been improved, let me know why. And any and all thoughts and opinions, leave them in the comments below.
I'm not like you. I won't run. 'Cause you're afraid of Salem!
Come on, everyone, out!
And I'll be standing there, waiting for her. I won't run.
I won't run. I won't run.
Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classy Critic, Noah Perkins, Sunny Shy, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Isaiah, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Messiah Complex, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, The Watcher, Omega Fighter, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Gino, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Alpha 99, and Hoodie Angel. Thanks for watching this video. I love these analysis videos, they're always so fun. Disappointing that there was no animation errors this time. Those are always my favorite, they're always so fun to see. If you saw something that I didn't catch from my review, let me know, I would love to hear it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about this fight in general, you know, and how you think you could have jazzed it up, especially with the location of the whale being so dimly lit. Any and all thoughts and opinions, I would really love to see them down in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.